Hi there, I'm Alex from the Southern Ukulele Store, and today we're going to make a video that I have made before, but a video that I have to kind of make every year or two because it's the most asked question. It's the question about the Forever Uke, it's the question about the step up to something Hawaiian made, it's the question about the Koa tenor, the one. I know I'm building it up, but you've seen the thumbnail, you know what this video is. Today we're going to compare the three Hawaiian K brands, specifically their kind of style 1 tenor ukulele. What you'll find traditionally with guitars as well, but ukuleles, is that brands tend to have a standard model at the high end, then they have a style 2 or a style 3. These things have different names, but the ornate nature, the aesthetics, they get more grand as you move up the range. But right at that sweet spot, usually price wise between around £1,000 to £1,400, you've got the Hawaiian K brand ukulele, the style 1, which is all solid Hawaiian Koa, various finishes, machine heads, the components, we'll get to them, but the three brands, the ones that we always get asked about, and the three brands that felt like a landmark achievement for sus when we got them all under one roof at the same time. That very first time is Kanile'a, Kamaka and KoAloha. So those three brands have varying histories and they're all based in Hawaii, and you know that if you've clicked on the video, but if you don't, you know, be prepared to have your mind blown by just how different these three instruments are, despite being around the same price, made in the same place, and Hawaiian Koa. So we're going to start our journey with the originator, the Kamaka, the HF-3, move on to the KoAloha KTM-10, which I know is a slight cheat. Really, I should be comparing the KTM-00, but the KTM-10 is the one I have here and right now, and it's the one many of you are asking me about. And then we're going to look at the Kanile'a K-1. Before I start the video though, I'd really appreciate if you like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. We try and reply to as many comments as we can, and if you've got a suggestion for a video that we can do, then we're all ears. Okay, first up today folks, we're taking a look at Kamaka, specifically the Kamaka HF-3. Kamaka have been doing it since the very beginning. They're over 100 years old and they've innovated and built many of the first incarnations of models. The original Hawaiian tenor here, this Koa tenor, is probably the most sought after among European players. I can't speak for Hawaiians, but I suspect the Hawaiian ukulele trend is mainly involved around the tenor ukulele as well. But what makes this instrument so desirable? Well, it's the Hawaiian Koa top, back and sides, all solid, with the bigger body shape, rosewood fingerboard and tie-on style bridge, a bone nut and saddle with a Koa faceplate, Kamaka logo, and German-made Schaller tuners with matching snakewood buttons, so the wooden buttons. The Kamaka is unique because pretty much everything that you see in the £100 to £600 price category is based on this original Kamaka design. The Hawaiian Koa Kamaka tenor is darker, it's mellower than the other two we're going to look at today, certainly to my ears, and I've probably played 50 or 60 Kamaka ukuleles now in my time. They all have a very consistent mellowness and a warmth to them that you don't actually normally see from Koa. And Rob, the owner here at the Southern Ukulele Store, has been out to the factory a few times and he was explaining to me about how they reject a lot of Koa because when they do the tap test it doesn't meet their requirements. So what Kamaka are looking for is consistency, something that you can pick up one from 1950, one from 1990, one from now, and you'll just have a Kamaka at your fingertips. Another thing to note about the Kamakas is that they have a 36mm nut width on their tenors. So the neck profile on a Kamaka is very round with a slender nut compared to many other Hawaiian made instruments. So if you've got smaller hands or you like a narrower string spacing, the HF-3 is a fantastic choice. The seasoning on a Kamaka, the salt and pepper is the strings. Out of the factory, they come with Kamaka's own strings, which are a thick black nylon string, which is the most traditional and the mellowest, warmest sounding string. But don't be fooled, I've owned a couple of Kamaka ukuleles in my time, and when you switch them over to the clear fluorocarbons or something brighter, you do get more attack, more sustain, but what you tend to still have is this inherent Kamaka warmth to it. So we're going to try it with the factory strings, tuned high G. This is the Kamaka HF-3. Let's give it a play and see what you think. Second up today, we're going to look at the KoAloha KTM-10. This is one of the standard Koa models from KoAloha, alongside the KTM-00, which is the high gloss version. Today we're going to take a look at the satin version, otherwise known as the Pakaki. The KTM-10 and KoAlohas in general have a more unique look than pretty much any other ukulele on the planet. They have the unique shaped sound hole, with the 5-point crown headstock with that really lovely abalone inlay. And while we're here, we'll look at the tuners too, which are KoAloha's own brand black tuner, I think made by Zoon. The saddle and nut are made by Tusk, TUSQ. It's a synthetic material with an ebony fingerboard and bridge. 37mm nut width, but with a narrower string spacing. So you have the wider nut width, but the fret edges are slightly recessed either side by a mil. So what you have is the string spacing of a 35mm nut width instrument. So a thin neck profile with a wider nut, but still comfortable and familiar to somebody that's been playing a Kala or an Ohana or something like that for many, many years. If a KoAloha was a person, it would be that person at the back of the class that knows all of the answers and plays up because it's bored. The KoAloha is just outgoing, it's open, it knows what it is, it's a loud sounding instrument, and part of that is to do with the bracing inside. So you have you have a ribbed style bracing on KoAlohas, just these small ribbed structures inside that are perfectly stable and proven over 25 years, but they are just open and a bit more lightweight in the body and a bit heavier in the neck than the other two ukuleles we're going to look at today. String wise, KoAloha send these out of the factory with low G strings. They use Pop Sakami's own Eureka strings, and they are very similar to the Worth CTLG strings, which many of you will be familiar with. We've strung this up today with a high G. You're welcome, because when I made this video 2 years ago, there were dozens of comments saying, well, it's not fair, this one had a low G. That's actually my default voice for YouTube, negative YouTube comments. So I've strung it up with a high G because you're dead right. To give something a low G is an unfair advantage. And I think that if you are looking for a chirpier, brighter, happier ukulele, the KoAloha KTM-10 is perfect for you. So let's give it a play and see what you think. Okay, last up today, we're going to look at the more ornate of the three. This is the Kanile'a K-1T. The reason we have a gloss one here is because that's really what Kanile'a are known for. They use a very modern UV gloss that cures very quickly and very evenly. If you're somebody that's particularly fussy or really keen on the attention to detail, I recommend looking at Kanile'a over the other two brands. Not to do them a disservice, but because of Kanile'a's modern techniques and the innovative way that they build their instruments, they tend to be the most consistent cosmetically. They also have a knack for having the most unique looking koa. This is a deluxe model, but Kanile'a actually grade their koa in 4 ways. So you could buy a K1 with select koa, which is plainer koa, more like what you're seeing on perhaps that KoAloha Pakaki. Deluxe, which is what we've got here. Premium, which is a curly koa, a bit more mellow sounding because there's less straighter grain. And then finally you've got the master grade koa, which is the really good stuff, the stuff that even from a mile away you're like, that's an expensive ukulele. But up close, let's look at this deluxe, because I think the koa on this is gorgeous. Very straight grained with a really nice sapwood streak on the back with holographic elements to it. Kanile'a are constantly changing and developing their style. They are in many ways the opposite of a Kamaka. Kamaka have a tried and tested method that they have been using for 100 years, and in regards to the tenor, 80 plus years of just getting that ukulele refined. Kanile'a like to listen to the feedback and the kind of user experiences and work with it. The bracing inside this instrument is a great example of that. You can see when I do a close-up that the bracing on this ukulele has almost like a honeycomb scaffolding effect to it. That's the true R bracing, which is the second incarnation of a lightweight relief bracing. So the bracing makes minimal contact with the top, allowing it to resonate for longer, increasing sustain, and certainly as you look at different Kanile'as and work with them, you will find that there is a consistent Kanile'a sound that in no small part is down to what's underneath the top that you don't see when you're playing it. So this is a high gloss version, which is the most common. We actually sell probably 100 K1 glosses for every satin one that we sell. They are much less frequently in stock here at Sus. You have an ebony fingerboard and bridge with ebony bridge pins with a bridge pin style bridge. Another thing done by design to create more sustain, borrowed from the guitar world with great success. And then you have an ebony faceplate with a white mother of pearl Kanile'a logo. And then on the back you have these Kanile'a open back tuners, which look just like Grover open back tuners. Slightly more curved edges, but yeah, a really nice tuner with black buttons. And then finally you have a 38mm nut width for this ukulele. So the widest nut width and the widest string spacing of the ukuleles we're going to look at today. And the Kanile'as have almost a U shape to their neck. They're quite a deep neck with an invisible flat point on the back that your thumb finds as you fret the neck and work your way around the fretboard. And finally, these instruments come out of the factory with Aquila strings, so that's what we're going to use in the demo today. But my own experiences, having owned several Kanile'as and sold several hundred of them over the years, is that you may want to try a clear fluorocarbon string for a slightly brighter sound. The Aquilas have a more traditional thwack to them, which is going to work nicely compared to the Kamaka and the KoAloha today. Let's give the Kanile'a K-1 tenor a play and see what you think. So there we have it, folks. It's 2021, and for the third time in 3 years, I'm filming a Hawaiian Koa tenor ukulele video about the 3 Hawaiian brands. But which is your favourite? Which one would you add to your bucket list? Because let's face it, there's always a lot of back and forth in the comments of these kind of videos where people say, for me, it's the KoAloha, nothing else touches it. Which is great, but I mean, let's face it, if we all had the money, we would have all 3, because each instrument does their own thing completely uniquely. I have done this exact journey so many times in my own life, in my own playing career. I've owned Kamakas, Kanileas, KoAlohas. I go round in circles, and I think that there are just so many unique benefits to each one that I no longer know which to choose. If I have to choose, if you were going to put a gun to my head right now and say I had to choose, I love Kanile'a as a brand. I like the uniqueness of each one, but there is something to be said for the consistency of a Kamaka HF-3 or the consistency of a KoAloha, the boisterous consistency of a KoAloha. I can't wait to read your comments, folks. I'd be really grateful if you subscribe to the channel, as well as check out my Ukes with Alex channel for more videos about my own instruments and my own experiences with the ukulele. In the meantime though, thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks.